Your body has been sending you distress signals for years, and you have been misreading every single one of them. That exhaustion you feel by 2 in the afternoon is not normal aging. That brain fog that makes you forget where you put your keys, that is not just getting older. And those leg cramps that wake you at 3 in the morning are not random. They are warnings. Specific, measurable, correctable warnings. And today I am going to show you exactly what they mean, and more importantly, what to do about them starting tomorrow morning. Here is what shocks me after 15 years of treating patients over 60. The same 9 signs keep showing up over and over again in patient after patient, signs that could have been identified and reversed years earlier, but instead they were dismissed, told it was just age, told to rest more, told to accept it, and that is a failure I refuse to repeat with you. Stay with me until the end, because the number one vitamin deficiency on this list is one that affects over 40% of all adults over 60, and most doctors do not test for it during a standard checkup. One study found that correcting this single deficiency restored energy levels comparable to someone a full decade younger, and yet almost nobody is addressing it correctly. I am Dr. Christopher Hayes, a physician specialized in senior health with over 15 years of dedicated clinical experience. I have worked with thousands of men and women over 60 who came to me completely exhausted, frustrated, and convinced their best days were behind them. What I discovered, again and again, was not irreversible aging. It was nutritional depletion, correctable, addressable, reversible depletion. What I am about to share goes against the passive approach many physicians take with older patients. But I have seen it work with my own eyes, patient after patient, and I refuse to stay silent any longer. If this information already seems valuable, hit that like button right now. It helps more people over 60 find these solutions. Now let me explain what is actually happening inside your body. After 60, your ability to absorb vitamins from food drops significantly. Your stomach produces less acid, which means nutrients pass through without being properly extracted. Your kidneys become less efficient at activating certain vitamins. Your skin loses its ability to synthesize others from sunlight. And on top of all that, many common medications, ones taken daily by millions of older adults, actively deplete vitamins your body desperately needs. Blood pressure medications, antacids, cholesterol drugs, even common pain relievers. They rob your cells of the very compounds that keep your mitochondria running, your nerves firing, and your muscles contracting. The result is a body that looks fine on a basic blood panel but feels broken from the inside. Here is what terrifies me most. These 9 signs are so normalized in our culture that people have stopped reporting them to their doctors. They assume it is just part of getting older. They manage around the fatigue. They take afternoon naps instead of addressing the cause. They stop going for evening walks because their legs ache. They withdraw from social situations because they cannot keep up mentally. And all of that suffering is unnecessary. Let us go through all 9 signs right now, from the least severe to the one that is silently affecting the most people in the most damaging way. Before we begin, I am curious. How old are you right now? In your 60s? 70s? Maybe beyond? If you wake up feeling tired even after a full night of sleep, type tired in the comments below. I want to see how many people are experiencing exactly what we are talking about today. Sign number 9, frequent muscle cramps, especially at night. If you are regularly jolted awake by a sharp, seizing cramp in your calf or foot, most people assume they need to stretch more or drink more water. And while hydration matters, the deeper cause is almost always a deficiency in one of 3 minerals that depend heavily on vitamins for proper absorption and function. Magnesium, potassium, and calcium all work together, and without adequate vitamin D and vitamin B6 in the system, your muscles cannot regulate their contraction and relaxation cycle properly. Here is the mechanism. Muscle cells require a precise exchange of minerals across their membranes to contract and then release. When vitamin D is low, your body cannot properly absorb calcium from food. When B6 is insufficient, magnesium transport into cells is impaired. The muscle stays in a semi-contracted state, and at night, when circulation slows and you are lying still for hours, that tension finally reaches a breaking point. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that adults over 60 with vitamin D levels below 20 nanograms per milliliter were nearly 3 times more likely to report chronic nighttime leg cramps compared to those with optimal levels. The correction is specific. You are not just dealing with a cramp problem. You are dealing with a vitamin absorption problem that is expressing itself as muscle dysfunction. Pro tip here. If your cramps happen specifically in the arch of the foot, that pattern points more directly to magnesium deficiency driven by low B6. If they are concentrated in the calf, vitamin D insufficiency combined with low calcium absorption is more likely. Sign number 8. Cracks at the corners of your mouth. This one is often mistaken for dry skin or simple chapping. But if you notice persistent cracking or soreness right at the corners of your lips, that is a classic presentation of vitamin B2 deficiency, also called riboflavin, sometimes combined with low B3 or iron absorption issues tied to B vitamin depletion. The mouth is one of the fastest replicating tissues in the body. It requires a constant supply of B vitamins to maintain that rapid cellular turnover. When those vitamins fall short, the corners of the mouth, which experience constant mechanical stress from eating, speaking, and smiling, are often the first place breakdown becomes visible. Research published in Nutrients Journal showed that nearly 60% of elderly patients presenting with angular cheilitis, the clinical term for corner of mouth cracking, had measurable B2 and B6 deficiencies when formally tested. This sign is important not just cosmetically. The same B vitamin depletion causing visible damage at the corners of your mouth is causing invisible damage throughout your nervous system, your cardiovascular lining, and your cellular energy production systems. Sign number 7, a burning or tingling sensation in your hands and feet. This symptom is one of the most frequently dismissed in older patients. The medical term is peripheral neuropathy, and while diabetes is the most commonly cited cause, a significant number of cases in non-diabetic seniors trace directly back to vitamin B12 deficiency. Here is what is happening inside your body when this occurs. Your nerve fibers are wrapped in a protective coating called myelin. Think of it like the rubber insulation around an electrical wire. Vitamin B12 is essential for producing and maintaining that coating. When B12 falls too low, the myelin begins to deteriorate. Signals traveling along those nerves become distorted. The result is burning, tingling, numbness, or a sensation like pins and needles, particularly in the extremities where nerve signals have the longest distance to travel. A 2021 study in the New England Journal of Medicine found that over 42% of adults over 65 had B12 levels in the insufficient range, and of those, nearly a third reported neurological symptoms consistent with early myelin degradation. The critical point here is timing. Unlike many vitamin deficiencies, the neurological damage from prolonged B12 deficiency can become permanent if left too long. This is not a wait-and-see situation. I remember Patricia, a 71-year-old retired school teacher from Minneapolis. She came to my office describing a constant buzzing in her feet, like standing on a vibrating floor. She had seen 2 other doctors. Both told her it was just neuropathy related to age. She was sent home with no follow-up plan. When I ran a proper B12 panel, her levels were critically low. She had been taking a proton pump inhibitor, a common acid reflux medication, for over 4 years. That medication had been silently blocking B12 absorption the entire time. I put her on a targeted B12 protocol with a form called methylcobalamin, which absorbs far more effectively than the standard cyanocobalamin form in most cheap supplements. 6 weeks later, she called my office. She said, "Doctor, the buzzing is almost completely gone. I can walk my dog again in the evenings without that horrible sensation. I cannot believe nobody caught this sooner." That is not a miracle. That is basic nutritional medicine applied correctly, and you can experience exactly the same thing. Sign number 6, hair thinning and excessive shedding. After 60, some degree of hair change is expected. But rapid thinning, increased shedding when brushing, or noticeable loss at the crown are symptoms that frequently connect to deficiencies in vitamin D, biotin, and iron, where the iron absorption problem is itself driven by low vitamin C and B12 levels. Your hair follicles are among the most metabolically active structures in the body. They require a constant supply of nutrients to maintain their growth cycle. When vitamin D falls below optimal levels, follicles can enter a resting phase prematurely and stay there. Research published in Frontiers in Aging found that women over 60 with vitamin D deficiency were 62% more likely to experience clinically significant hair thinning. Biotin, part of the B vitamin family, plays a direct role in keratin production, the primary protein your hair is made of. Low biotin does not just slow growth, it weakens the hair structure so that existing strands break more easily, creating the appearance of accelerated loss. Pro tip: if your hair loss is accompanied by eyebrow thinning on the outer third of the brow, that specific pattern points strongly toward thyroid involvement combined with B vitamin depletion. Mention that specific detail to your doctor. Sign number 5, mood changes, irritability, or low-grade depression that appeared gradually. This is one that many people and many physicians attribute entirely to life circumstances, retirement, loss, social isolation. And while those factors are real, the biochemical contribution of vitamin deficiency to mood and emotional regulation is dramatically underappreciated. Vitamin D functions as a hormone in the brain, not just a bone mineral. It directly influences serotonin synthesis, the primary neurotransmitter regulating mood, motivation, and emotional resilience. Vitamin B9, also called folate, is essential for producing dopamine and norepinephrine. And the entire B complex governs the methylation cycle, which controls how your brain regulates stress responses at a cellular level. A landmark study in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that adults over 60 with low vitamin D levels had a 40% higher incidence of depressive symptoms compared to those with optimal levels. And critically, supplementation studies showed measurable improvement in mood within 8 to 12 weeks in a majority of deficient patients. Here's what I want you to understand. If your mood has shifted over the last several years, if you feel less like yourself, less motivated, more irritable than you used to be, that is not simply who you have become. That is chemistry. And chemistry can be corrected. If you are finding this valuable so far, please hit like and subscribe so you do not miss the life-changing health solutions we share here every single week. And if you know someone over 60 who has been dealing with unexplained low mood, please share this video. What you share today might genuinely change their life. Sign number 4, slow wound healing and frequent bruising. If you notice that small cuts take longer to close than they used to, or that you bruise easily from minor contact, this is your body signaling critically low levels of vitamin C and vitamin K, along with potential deficiencies in zinc-related compounds that depend on B vitamin cofactors for activation. Vitamin C is the cornerstone of collagen synthesis. Collagen is the structural protein that holds your skin together, reinforces your blood vessel walls, and enables the formation of new tissue at a wound site. When vitamin C is insufficient, your collagen production slows. Vessel walls weaken, which is why bruising increases. Wound sites cannot build new tissue efficiently, which is why healing slows. A study in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that seniors with vitamin C levels in the deficient range healed surgical incisions 38% more slowly than those with optimal levels and required significantly longer recovery times after minor procedures. Vitamin K plays a parallel role in the clotting cascade. Without adequate K2 in particular, your blood cannot form effective clots at wound sites, and the small hemorrhages beneath the skin from minor bumps cannot be controlled efficiently, producing the easy bruising many seniors accept as inevitable. It is not inevitable, it is correctable. I remember James, a 78-year-old retired contractor from Atlanta. He came in because his daughter was worried. She had noticed bruises all over his arms and legs that he could not explain. He was on a blood thinner for atrial fibrillation, which contributed to the problem, but his vitamin C levels were also dramatically low because he had gradually stopped eating fresh vegetables and fruit over the previous 2 years as his appetite had declined. I worked with his cardiologist to carefully reintroduce vitamin C supplementation and specific vitamin K2, which does not interfere with his medication the way K1 does. I also helped him rebuild a simple daily eating pattern. 8 weeks later, his daughter brought him back in. She was almost emotional. She said his skin looked completely different. The bruising was dramatically reduced. He had more energy, and most importantly, she felt like she had her father back. His comment to me was simple. He said, "Doctor, I did not realize how much I had let myself go. I thought I was just old. Nobody told me it was fixable. This was not age. This was depletion." And he got it back. Sign number 3. Bone pain, joint aching, or a deep heaviness in the legs. Most people assume joint aching after 60 is inevitable arthritis. And while arthritis is real, the intensity and progression of that pain is profoundly influenced by vitamin D status in a way that most patients are never told. Vitamin D receptors exist in bone cells, muscle cells, and nerve cells throughout your body. When vitamin D is insufficient, bones lose density gradually and develop microscopic stress fractures that do not show up on standard X-rays but generate a constant deep aching. The condition is called osteomalacia in adults, essentially soft bone disease, and it is extraordinarily common in older adults yet massively underdiagnosed. Beyond bone, low vitamin D impairs muscle function directly. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that seniors with vitamin D deficiency had measurably reduced muscle fiber size, reduced strength output, and reported significantly higher levels of diffuse body aching compared to sufficiency groups. A critical distinction. The aching from vitamin D deficiency tends to be bilateral, meaning both sides of the body equally, diffuse rather than localized to one joint, and often feels worse in the morning and after prolonged rest, unlike mechanical arthritis, which typically worsens with activity. Pro tip: ask your doctor specifically for a 25-hydroxyvitamin D blood test. The standard threshold for sufficiency is 30 nanograms per milliliter, but emerging research suggests the optimal range for seniors is between 50 and 80 for maximum musculoskeletal benefit. Sign number 2, persistent fatigue that is not relieved by sleep. This is the symptom that brings the most patients to my office. They sleep 7, 8, 9 hours, they wake up exhausted, they push through the morning, hit a wall at noon, struggle through the afternoon. By evening, they are depleted, and then they do it all over again the next day. The single most consistent finding in these patients is a combination of low vitamin B12 and low vitamin D, often compounded by iron absorption issues tied to vitamin C deficiency. Here is the cellular explanation. Every cell in your body produces energy through a process called the mitochondrial electron transport chain. That process requires B12, B2, B3, and folate as direct cofactors at multiple steps. Without them, your mitochondria cannot complete the energy cycle efficiently. The result is not just tiredness, it is a fundamental failure of cellular energy production. Your cells are trying to run an engine without the right fuel components. Vitamin D compounds this problem through a different pathway. It regulates the expression of genes involved in mitochondrial function. Low D means your cells cannot optimally activate their energy-producing machinery, regardless of how well everything else is running. A 2022 study in Frontiers in Aging found that adults over 60 with combined B12 and vitamin D deficiency scored 47% lower on standardized energy and vitality assessments compared to sufficiency groups. More strikingly, after 12 weeks of targeted supplementation with both nutrients, the fatigue scores improved by an average of 61%. Now I want to hear from you. Have you been experiencing this kind of fatigue, the kind that sleep does not fix? Share your experience in the comments right now. I read every single one, and I want to understand what you are going through. I remember Linda, a 68-year-old retired nurse from Boston. The irony was not lost on either of us. Here was a woman who had spent decades caring for others and had completely neglected her own nutritional status. She came to me describing fatigue so severe that she had stopped going to her book club, stopped visiting her grandchildren as often as she wanted, stopped doing anything that required sustained energy. She said, "Doctor, I feel like someone turned a dimmer switch on my life." Her B12 was critically low. She had been vegetarian for over 20 years, which meant she had very limited dietary B12 intake, and her age meant her absorption capacity had dropped significantly. Her vitamin D was also severely insufficient. I placed her on methylcobalamin B12 sublingual drops, a form that bypasses the digestive absorption issues common in older adults, combined with vitamin D3 with K2 for proper utilization. 3 weeks later, she sent me a message. She had gone back to her book club. She had taken her grandchildren to the park twice that week. She said, "I forgot what it felt like to actually want to do things. I have my life back, not a miracle." Her body finally had the materials it needed to generate the energy it had always been capable of producing. And now we have arrived at the number one sign, the one I mentioned at the very beginning, the one affecting over 40% of all adults over 60, the one connected to heart disease risk, cognitive decline, immune failure, depression, cancer risk elevation, bone fractures, muscle wasting, and yes, profound exhaustion. Sign number one, frequent illness, slow recovery from infection, or a sense that your immune system is simply not working. If you catch every cold that comes through your household, if a minor respiratory infection keeps you down for 2 or 3 weeks instead of 2 or 3 days, if you find yourself taking antibiotics multiple times a year, if your immune system simply does not seem to fight back the way it once did, the root of that vulnerability is almost always vitamin D deficiency at a profound level, frequently combined with zinc insufficiency driven by low B6 and compromised immune priming from chronically low vitamin C. Here is the mechanism that most doctors do not explain. Vitamin D is not simply a bone vitamin, it is an immune system master regulator. Every immune cell in your body, your T cells, your B cells, your natural killer cells, carries vitamin D receptors. When vitamin D is present at optimal levels, these cells activate rapidly, communicate efficiently, and mount powerful responses to pathogens. When vitamin D is deficient, immune cells essentially operate in low-power mode. They respond slowly, communicate poorly, and struggle to contain infections before they become serious. A 2020 meta-analysis published in the Journal of the American Medical Association covering over 11,000 participants found that vitamin D supplementation reduced the risk of acute respiratory infection by 42% overall and by 70% in individuals who were severely deficient at baseline. 70% reduction in respiratory infection risk. Not from a pharmaceutical, from correcting a deficiency that should never have been allowed to develop. The vitamin C connection here is equally important and frequently overlooked. Vitamin C accumulates in white blood cells at concentrations 20 to 40 times higher than in blood plasma. Your immune cells literally hoard it because they need it to function. During an active infection, your body burns through vitamin C stores at a dramatic rate. If those stores were already low before the infection began, your immune response is fighting uphill from the first moment. Research from the Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that seniors with optimal vitamin C levels had significantly shorter duration of respiratory infections, lower incidence of complications, and faster return to baseline health compared to those with low or deficient levels. The zinc connection is the third pillar. Zinc is required for the development and activation of T lymphocytes, the cells that identify and destroy virus-infected cells. B6 is essential for zinc transport and utilization. Without adequate B6, zinc cannot be properly used by the immune system even when dietary intake is sufficient. This triple deficiency, vitamin D, vitamin C, and the B6 zinc axis, creates what I call an immune power vacuum in older adults. The body has the will to fight, but not the weapons. I remember Barbara, a 74-year-old retired librarian from Chicago. She had been sick 6 times in 14 months. Every time she thought she was recovering, another infection would take hold. She had been on 3 courses of antibiotics in 1 year. She was exhausted, demoralized, and frightened. Her daughter brought her in after reading about vitamin D and immune function. When I tested Barbara, her vitamin D level was 11 nanograms per milliliter. Normal is above 30, optimal is above 50. She was at 11. We began a carefully monitored loading protocol of vitamin D3 combined with K2 to ensure proper calcium metabolism, high-dose vitamin C in the form of sodium ascorbate, which is gentler on the stomach, and activated B6 to support her zinc utilization. Within 6 weeks, she had not gotten sick once, which was remarkable given her history. Within 3 months, she told me she had attended every family gathering that winter without getting ill for the first time in years. She looked me in the eye at her follow-up appointment and said, "Doctor, I thought I was just falling apart. I thought this was the beginning of the end. But I feel stronger than I did 5 years ago. How is that possible?" I told her what I am telling you right now. Your body did not fail you. The information and the nutrients you were given failed you. Once we gave your immune system what it actually needed, it did exactly what it has always been capable of doing. It fought back. That is not a miracle. That is human biology working as designed. Now let me give you the exact implementation plan. Start tomorrow morning with vitamin D3 combined with K2. Take it with your largest meal of the day because vitamin D is fat-soluble and requires dietary fat for absorption. The research-backed dose for correcting deficiency in adults over 60 is between 2,000 and 4,000 international units daily, though I always recommend confirming your starting level with a blood test so your doctor can determine the precise dose you need. At breakfast, add vitamin C in a divided dose. 500 milligrams in the morning and 500 milligrams with dinner is far more effective than a single 1,000 milligram dose because vitamin C is water-soluble and your body can only utilize a limited amount at one time. With your evening meal, take a B-complex vitamin that includes activated forms of B12 as methylcobalamin, B6 as pyridoxal 5-phosphate, and folate as methylfolate. These activated forms bypass absorption limitations that become increasingly common after 60. If nighttime muscle cramps are among your symptoms, add 300 milligrams of magnesium glycinate 30 to 60 minutes before bed. Glycinate is the gentlest form on the digestive system and has the highest absorption rate in older adults. Do not make these critical errors. First, do not take vitamin D without K2. Without K2, the calcium mobilized by vitamin D can deposit in arteries rather than bones. They work as a team. Always take them together. Second, do not take your B vitamins at night if you have any difficulty sleeping. B vitamins are energizing at the cellular level. Take them with meals during the day. Third, do not assume that eating well means you are not deficient. After 60, absorption is the problem, not just intake. You can eat a perfect diet and still be severely depleted because your digestive system is no longer extracting nutrients the way it did at 40. Within 3 days of beginning this protocol, most people notice slightly improved energy in the morning. Within 1 week, the quality of sleep often improves. Within 2 weeks, muscle cramping typically reduces significantly. Within 1 month, immune resilience begins to rebuild measurably, and many people report that their doctor comments on improvements at their next appointment. Consistency is everything. This is not a 1-week experiment. This is a daily practice, as fundamental as brushing your teeth. So let us recap all 9 signs we covered today. Sign 9. Nighttime muscle cramps indicating disrupted mineral transport from low vitamin D and B6. Sign 8. Cracks at the corners of the mouth, pointing to B2 and B6 depletion. Sign 7. Burning or tingling in hands and feet, the early warning signal of B12-related myelin damage. Sign 6. Hair thinning and shedding driven by vitamin D and biotin insufficiency. Sign 5. Mood shifts, irritability, and low-grade depression connected to disrupted serotonin and dopamine chemistry from low D and the B complex. Sign 4. Slow healing and easy bruising from vitamin C and K2 deficiency. Sign 3. Bone pain and deep leg heaviness from osteomalacia caused by chronic low vitamin D. Sign 2. Persistent fatigue that sleep cannot fix, driven by mitochondrial failure from B12 and vitamin D depletion. And sign number 1. A compromised immune system struggling to fight back, rooted in the triple deficiency of vitamin D, vitamin C, and the B6 zinc axis. My message to you today is not fear. It is not panic. It is power. You are not broken. Your information has been broken. The guidance that told you to simply accept these symptoms as aging has been failing you. Your body has been sending you signals. Today, for the first time, you know what those signals actually mean. Here is my challenge to you. Start your vitamin protocol tomorrow. Commit to 30 days. Track your energy in the morning. Notice how you feel after 2 weeks. Pay attention to how quickly you recover the next time something goes around. Your immune system, your muscles, your brain, and your mood will show you what was possible all along. Barbara from Chicago stopped getting sick after decades of vulnerability. Linda from Boston got her desire for life back after years of exhaustion. Patricia from Minneapolis got rid of the buzzing that had followed her everywhere for years. And you can write your own version of that story, starting tomorrow. If this video helped you today, do not keep it to yourself. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss a solution designed for adults over 60. And share this video with someone you love who has been struggling and does not know why. And now I genuinely want to hear from you. Which of these 9 signs do you recognize in yourself? Which one surprised you most? Leave your answer in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone else needed to read today, because here is what I know after 15 years of doing this work. Aging does not take away your body's ability to recover. It simply asks you to be more intentional about giving it what it needs. You have that ability. You have always had that ability. Take care of yourself.